Okay, we're going now. Thank you for joining, Andy.
You're welcome. Pleasure being here.
Yeah. So basically, you know why I started the channel. It's just to unite Zimbabweans all over the world. So I wanted you to join so that you could tell us a bit about your experience abroad and what you think about Zimbabwe. So maybe we can start off by you introducing yourself.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Andiswa, but commonly I just go by Andy. I am 24 years old and currently I am in Poland and I have been in Poland for the past 5 years now.
Okay, and when you look back at you went to Poland in 2020, right?
Yes, end of 2020, like around November.
What do you think made you like decide to move to Poland? Was that your own decision? Or...
It wasn't actually my decision at all. So my whole journey to actually coming to Poland was a bit funny in the sense that this was never the plan. Originally, after I'd finished high school, the plan was to actually go to Germany, but under a different program. So there was a program known as the au pair program where you go in as like a live-in nanny slash babysitter. So you had to do like this whole application and you have to create like a whole portfolio showing how you work with kids. I actually had to get a job at a preschool and have all of that backed up, like backing me up, and then sending in an application video, getting to know different families, speaking in German. And then once a family likes you, then you can start the actual process of starting the papers and starting the whole move to Germany. So the whole point of it was just having a way into the country. So you'd be living with that family, they're taking care of you whilst you're learning the official German language for a year. And then
Oh,
after that, when you're done learning German for that year, then you can go in and start learning, going to the university. Since in Germany, the universities are free if you speak German. That was the original plan that I was supposed to take whilst I was learning German while still in Zimbabwe and, getting familiar with the family. I actually had a family that I was working with at the time also. So whilst I was preparing for that, then COVID hit and they shut down all the embassies and everything. So I had to stop everything, even communication with the family. I had to let them know that I'm not going to be able to come through because of COVID. I don't know what the future is going to be. So I waited, like held it off for like a few months. That's when my parents just decided that, I mean, you can't just sit here waiting for
yeah.
the bans to lift. We don't know when they're going to lift. So you might as well start making a plan to go to university. And they just gave me, just apply here to Poland. And then here I am.
So do you ever like think about how your life could have been if you had gone to Germany?
At some point, I did think about it, but I think in the early days of me coming to Poland, I would, think about what my life would have been like if I had gone to Germany instead. I already had it pictured because the family I was communicating with, they showed me my room and everything. Like they
Okay.
really like integrated me and they were showing me like they were moving into a new house. They're showing me the new house, giving me tours and everything. So I already know it was mainly going to be filled with me changing diapers, like from like in Germany, but familiarizing myself with the culture. And then eventually, I think I'd have been more, I don't know, serious. Not that I'm not serious right now, but I think that would have been the course that my life would have taken if I'd gone to Germany.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me also. The plan was never like to go to Poland. I
Mhm.
just woke up one day and my dad told me that he had uh, applied for me. I was like, what? What do you mean? He's like, yeah,
God
talk to this
applied for you.
agent, talk to this agent, deal with them. You're gonna be going to Poland now. So I was like, that okay.
Yeah, it was
But
almost the same for me. Yeah, exactly. But they didn't like, apply for
yeah,
me like they did for you. I had to do everything.
yeah. But do you have like any regrets of moving to Poland and like starting a life there?
No, I don't.
Zero
It
regret.
turned out, yeah, it turned out better than, for something that you didn't plan. It
Yeah, yeah.
definitely, yeah, it ends up being good in that sense. And I learned more about myself being here than, maybe being in Germany. I wouldn't have met certain people, and my life wouldn't be where it is right now. So
It's been like 5 years you haven't been in Zim. How does that make you feel?
I do get homesick, but I think for me, what makes it easier is the fact that my entire family, like just the nuclear, so just my parents and my siblings, they all moved. So my parents and my little brother are in the UK, and then my little sister is here in Poland with me. So I guess that takes off of, that feeling where you really want to go back to them because yes, I still have extended family there and I still have friends there. But when you have like your closer family close to you like this, it
Yeah,
kind of takes away, yeah, it makes it a bit easier to cope with.
you don't really feel the impacts, but yeah, there's a lot of people who haven't been like home in so long, and some of it is because of financial issues, and some of it is because people just don't want to like come back home. You know, the image of Zimbabwe that people have. So how do you see Zimbabwe in your eyes?
I mean, for me, Zimbabwe is home, regardless of the problems or whatever situations that'll be happening in the country. It still is home. And at the end of the day, there is no place like home when you think about it. Because being in a foreign country, you're still, there's still prejudices in terms of like when you go out, people look at you a certain way, people treat you a certain way. You don't have access to all the services that the country has to offer, just basically based off of the way that I look. But knowing that if I'm to go back home, even though there aren't as much services as they are in Europe, if I go back home, I know that if I walk into any shop, I'm going to be able to communicate well with them, tell jokes, laugh about it, have something to bond over rather than being here in Poland. If you crack a joke, there's like a 30% chance that they'll get it or they'll laugh with you. Most of them won't be like, don't speak English, sorry.
You know, I'm also used to it now. Like when I walk into a shop, I usually like to talk to the person. And here in Zim, you can also do that. Back
Mm,
there, like when I was in Spain, Poland, it's not really common. So now
that's what
I'm
I'm
kind of
saying.
used to that all being serious when you're in the shop, and I don't like that.
Yeah, that's just one of the things that you have to get used to being like in a country where English isn't the main language. And for me, what I always find funny is the name of the shops will be English and maybe certain posters in the shop are in English. So you would expect that maybe at least one person there should be able to communicate with you in English, but nah, never the case.
And the annoying thing is some of them can actually speak, but they don't.
Exactly, exactly.
But anyway, would you like see yourself raising kids in Poland?
I think just starting off I can see that happening, but I wouldn't want to raise my kids fully here. Mainly I think that's more to do with how I perceive Zimbabwe because I feel like there's no place that really gives you, not saying anything about Poland or Europe or anything, but just
Yeah.
me being, biased being from Zimbabwe. I feel like it's a better country in terms of, for kids when you want to instill certain values and certain principles. I feel like Zimbabwe would be better. So I could start off with kids like, toddler, kindergarten, but I feel like once they're getting older, I, you know, would potentially want to either move back to Zimbabwe and then make sure the kids go into like high schools in Zimbabwe. And then if they want to go back to Europe further, then so be it. But in terms of like principles, morals, or certain things like that, I feel like Africa,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I have the same view also. Like the educational system here in Zimbabwe is really amazing, and
Hmm.
I wouldn't want to raise my kids in any other way.
I think the only point that would make me actually reconsider having the kids, you know, be educated in Zimbabwe is in Europe, if they are more maybe culturally or actively like for sport, if that's something that they're more into, then obviously there's more opportunity in Europe than in Zimbabwe. So I think that's the only thing that would actually make me reconsider, but
Yeah. But speaking of like studying in Zimbabwe and all that, what do you think is the biggest difference in the educational system in Zimbabwe versus Europe or Poland?
Well, obviously, I would only know more about university, but only because I had my university here in Poland. But I think just based off of like the superficial level, so surface level, just based off of what I'm seeing, not that what I know, I feel like with Zimbabwe, they don't just, take kids in and say that we're just going to teach you, give you the education that you need to go to university and that's it. They take more into character building, having that respect put into it. Not saying anything about European teenagers or anything like that. I'm not being specific. I just feel like, you know, maybe it's because of the school I went to, because I went to Dominican convent, Harare. So we had more into, respect, and there was a lot more built, put into your character building and all of that, not just the education. They do more than just that. So that's what I think. That's the difference.
When I was looking at what people do like, here in Zimbabwe for university,
Mm.
they actually learn a lot more than what we do.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like we can be given like multiple choices and just silly things, and you'll be like, "Is this university?"
I know.
But if you actually talk to someone who's at University of Zimbabwe, you'll be like, "Damn, they actually have to do a lot."
Yeah, that's true. Because I was studying computer engineering, yeah, and I had friends who were studying computer engineering in Zimbabwe, and I can tell you that the difference, even if someone in the UK also, yeah, there's a difference.
You mentioned you went to Dominican convent and how they're really big on respect and principles and like raising you in a certain way. Is there any character traits that you had when you were in Zimbabwe that you don't have anymore now that you miss? Like,
Like my own personal character
yeah,
trait.
yeah,
To be honest, I don't think so. I want to believe that whatever I had in Zimbabwe came over. Obviously, there's
but
maybe the small things I missed out on. But I think the only thing I can think of in my head when you ask that question is something that my mom always says to me is because I am big on my appearance. So it doesn't mean like whenever I go out, I have to like doll myself out and everything like that. Not really. But it's just that every time I go out, I need to look presentable. So I'm not just going to walk out wearing my pajamas from the previous night and, I have to make sure I put some effort into my appearance. And whenever my mom visited me, it's always something that I always took my time on and making sure that I look presentable. And she was like, I never taught you about that. That's Dominican convent that did that to you. They're the ones that told you to always look presentable.
yeah,
Yeah, so I can't think of anything that
okay,
I left out.
yeah. What would you say? One example I can give you is
Mhm.
I was talking to this other person and they were like, when they were here in Zim, they were really into like going to church,
Mhm, mhm.
praying, and having that connection with God. But when they moved and went abroad, that connection basically like went away.
Okay. Yeah, no,
So
I can relate to that, just speaking on that specifically. But I think for me, it was a bit reversed in the sense that at home we were big on going to church, but also because we had like daily prayers at home, like after in the morning before we left for school as a family we'd pray, and the evening before we went to sleep as a family we'd pray, and then we also had Sundays where we're always going to church because my parents had positions at church, so we're always going to be there. So coming here, I didn't have that. And the churches here are still developing. So the church that I knew at the time that I came here, I don't think it was even started, having like a location here in Warsaw. So I think for me that was difficult knowing that I don't have a church that's like at home here, but that gave me the opportunity to then foster my own personal relationship where I'm now praying individually by myself and, helping me with that. So now it's more like, it's not that I don't like going to church, but
yeah,
because for a good chunk of my life here in Warsaw, it was just me in my room with my Bible and a sermon on the TV and so on. So now it's like that's something that I prefer to do, but I'll still go to church.
okay, makes sense. And what would you say to someone who wants to study computer engineering in Poland specifically at the university that you went to?
At the university that I went to, I would say it's a good place to start to ensure you get your degree. And then if you want to develop more, um, after that, then of course you can go on and do your master's degree or do certification and so on. But I feel like with the education that I had, there's still some things that I don't know of. So certifications definitely important. And also like, the next stage of the education also is required if that's something that you'd be interested in. I guess.
I'm saying,
Hmm.
do you think it's going to be like a good idea for
Hmm.
someone who wants to visit, to move to Poland to do computer engineering? Computer engineering will be more of the IT side.
Well, I think it's still a good idea, consider that that's where the world is going. So regardless of whether the education, the quality of the education you're going to get is, up to par or not, that's a different story. But then if that's what you want to do, like I said, you have to beef it up. You can't just then walk away with that, that degree and say that, okay, I'm IT certified now I can, be like an expert. You have to, or everyone who knows that if you're going into IT or computer engineering or anything, you need to get certifications as well. So as long as you get the certifications, then you're good.
Okay. And did you have to do an internship when you were doing your degree?
Yes, I did have to do an internship.
Okay. And after that,
Mhm.
you got a full-time job offer? Or
So for me, I was luckily working at a cybersecurity company. So they were dealing with the security of payment cards done by their customers. So my internship was kind of my journey with the internship was easier than most because I was already in the company. So all they had to do, and I'd already been working there for quite some time by the time that they needed the internship paper. So it was pretty straightforward for me.
yeah, there's been a struggle with finding jobs lately. What do you think about that? Like, I feel like in the next 5 years, it's going to be completely harder and it's only going to get worse.
Okay.
So how do you see that?
I think, I don't know, I feel like there's still a lot more companies opening up like on a daily basis. And I feel like they will always need people who are at a certain level. So having someone who's got like all these degrees and all these certifications, at some point you're going to be overqualified for the entry level positions or certain positions in the company. So I think there should still be those positions. Maybe there will be less of them if the company is advancing. So I think,
Yeah, I think just focusing on upskilling is your
mhm,
biggest advantage at this point, so that you always have a plan.
exactly.
And what has been the hardest part about building a social life in Poland for you?
I think for me personally, I'm an individual who's more reserved. I'm not more about, going out there and talking and meeting people. And then all of a sudden, I've got my clique and, we're just, going crazy and so on. I'm more reserved and I'm like a slow burner. So for me, my hardest challenge has been opening up to a level where I make those close relationships because I think too much or, I feel like if I show people who I really am, I won't be accepted because I'll be seeing, I'm more of like an observer. So I can see like not necessarily who you are, but I can see more of you and I can see whether, if I show you more of me, are we going to click like that? So that makes me, hesitant in building those relationships because I feel like if I say this joke, if I don't say it the right way, it might cause them to see me in a different light and then we won't, click. So it's been a challenge for me when it
Yeah,
comes to that.
it sounds like you're too self-critical. Do you see that?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that.
Where did that come from?
I think it's because I've never been in a position where I had to put in effort to make friends. Not saying that, it's just that looking at my background at church, because I obviously, we have different social circles at church, at school, at home. At church, it was just the girls around me. We just became, this was grade three. It was so easy. We're still friends like up to now. So that was just something that happened. In high school, same thing. The people around me, or maybe their people, like literally physically sitting in the classroom and we're just talking and that's that. So it's just one of those things. Maybe I've never actively tried looking for friends. It's just more like they found me. So now being in Poland, you're at home, either you're at home, you're at work, or you're at school. And now you have to actually do something because everyone here is minding their own business. They're trying to get their degree, they're trying to, get focus on work and so on. So it makes it a bit more challenging.
Yeah, true. I feel like as you become older, friendship is more of now like a choice, and you choose like what you care about and what you're going to
True.
prioritize and what you make time for.
Hmm.
You mentioned that you've been friends with some people since grade three, and
Yeah.
that's amazing. How have you maintained those friendships? And like, are they in Poland also, or they're in Zimbabwe? Where
No, they're in different parts of the world, South Africa, UK, Hungary. It's like different parts of the world. But we don't talk like regularly, I would even say, but I know that if anything were to happen, I can still reach out to them and I know that, they'd have my back. So it's just more of like we check in on each other here and there, but we still value that friendship and the connection we had because from 9 years to basically I left when I was 19. So that's a decade of like just constantly talking to each other, going to each other's houses and so on and so on. That's just something you don't easily get rid of. So it's just, we don't talk as much as we did before. Obviously, different lives, different trajectories that we're now, moving on. But just the checking in for me, I think that's still something that I value. But
yeah, and then there's also like some people who complain about how, oh, you're not talking to me, so you're not my friend, those type of people. You can understand that we're adults now and we actually have things to do. We have our own lives. What would you say
true.
about those type of people?
I mean, for me, I think I might have, maybe people will view it as a toxic mindset, but for me, it's one of those things like, if you're not for me, you're not for me.
Yeah,
And if you have this mindset and if it's something that doesn't align with what, how I'm thinking or with the life that I want to live, and it's constantly like there's just this constant conflict when it comes to, you're not talking to me, and I feel like I have to, nitpick the people I'm talking to, just make sure you're happy. I'll just, move on.
yeah. Okay. And do you ever feel like Zimbabweans abroad end up being scattered emotionally? Like they don't really know where they belong, and some people talk about going through depression, and
Yeah, I think it's very possible to go through all of that, especially if you're struggling with, your social status or just, having people in Poland physically as well to help you. If you don't have that, definitely I can see someone going through depression or having the struggles of, being emotionally unavailable or anything like that. Luckily for me, I had people here in Poland as well. I feel like I could have gone that way, but because I had that support here physically, it did help.
okay. And what would you say to someone who's closed off like you, doesn't really know how to make new friends, and is in that emotional state, maybe depressed or whatever? How can they get out of it? And
I know this is advice as all this time has been said so many times, but you just need to like just hold your breath and just do it. Just say what's on your mind. I mean, there's so many people right now you don't know who are going through what you're going through. And the second you just speak up and just voice your opinion, you might actually find something good for you. Yes, you will get kicked down sometimes when, you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, but eventually you do get there. So it's just about having that courage and knowing that, it's going to work out eventually and trusting in God and still, praying that God shows you your friends or brings people to you that, are like-minded, then just carry
okay.
on.
And what's one mistake you think Zimbabweans make when they move?
Okay, the funny thing that just came to my mind is that yes, when you come from them, you're using the US dollar. And then when you come here, you're seeing Polish zloty. And it looks cheaper. It is, but it's not. So do not then, say I've got like 1,000. That's 4,000 zlotys. And then you start going crazy. No.
So
So,
finish fast.
exactly. I think everyone had that experience when they first came here, with the change of currency and you're just going crazy. And then at the end of the month, you've seen that you've blown like half already. So just like we're all excited.
Another mistake I see a lot of Zimbabweans making, or not just Zimbabweans, people, is they move there, they get into the wrong circles, they start doing drugs, and it just goes downhill from there. And how would you help someone like that, or someone who's going through that type of situation? And is it
I
possible to help them?
I think they can only be helped if they want to be helped. But I'd say the best option is to show them the other side. So if they're in the bad circles and that's how, they're doing the drugs, then if you can afford it, if you're able to, you also start putting in the pressure to hang out with them and show them the other side where you don't need the drugs to have a good time, where you don't need to be hanging out with certain people, of a certain type. You just, kind of take them into your own circle. And then
Yeah,
from there, they can compare the differences. Because usually with the bad circles, there's certain like maybe they're not good friends. So just by showing them what a good friend is like, if they have a part of themselves with, they know right from wrong and they know what's good and what's bad, they will eventually,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I had that problem where I got into the wrong group of friends and the wrong circle. It was really bad, but I
Hmm.
got out of it eventually. And yeah, if there's anyone listening to this who's going through the same, you just need to find genuine people around you that you can go to, that can help you out, that you can talk to and express yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you mentioned how you see yourself raising kids in Zim. So can you give us like an image of how you see your life in the next 10 years from now?
In the next 10 years, I'll be like, what, 34. I see myself having moved back fully, hopefully owning a property. So I know like I want to have like a property. It doesn't have to be in Aurora. It can be just outside, like a little ranch farm looking little place with lots of animals. I'm an animal enthusiast, so I want to have every type of animal known to man. The chickens will be pets. Like, yeah. So just having that, like the best picture I can think of is like a ranch. So yes, like a farm, but also like a ranch. And then my kids just being, having this like plot of land where they're like also, what's the word? They're outside kids. So they have
Yeah.
bikes and they
Not
have
not
different
iPhone
things.
kids. Yeah.
Exactly. They're just always out there somewhere in the wilderness and they're just having a blast with their friends and, just also having them rooted in like Christianity, having like a good social life that's free from like there's so much going on in the world right now. So just still having that innocence of just being a kid and having a good time without having to worry with so much of like what's going on around. Maybe what I
But you know,
want.
I think it's going to be really hard to protect our kids from something like that,
That's
especially
true.
with the way the world is advancing.
I know, I know. And a lot depending on how you teach your kid, it's also about their character as well as they're developing. So you can say whatever you want, but if they don't want to listen or if they don't, then
But do you think it's mostly about their character or like the person who's raising them?
I think there's three things that go into it. So, of course, the person who's raising them, then the kids' character themselves, and then the people they spend time with outside of the people that are raising them. So,
Mm,
as a parent, they can tell you that ABCD is wrong, and you know now ABCD is wrong. But when you go out there, your friends maybe they're told that ABC is wrong, but D is okay. And then
mm,
as a kid, now your character now comes in and you're like, mom and dad said D is wrong, but I'm seeing they're doing D and they're fine. So now it's about you. Am I going to do what they're saying or am I going to do what they're doing? And then
yeah. Looking back at Andy in 2019, you said that's when you moved, right?
2020.
2020, okay.
Hmm.
What would you have told yourself before leaving Zimbabwe that you know now?
I think I would have told myself that it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of times where you're going to cry or where you're just going to have problems or anything like that, and you're not going to know. But then just trust in yourself, trust in God, and trust in the genuine people He's put around you. I think that's something. And also, I moved to Poland with my mom. So I would also tell myself, go and see your mom. So she's
Did you
now in
plans
the
that?
UK. The thing is, when I moved, right, when my parents were strict in Zimbabwe, were rightfully so. So when I came here, my relationship that I had with my mom was more like just mom and daughter. She wasn't trying to be my friend. She was just trying to be my mother. So when I came to Poland with her, I knew her as my mom. So I think when she was in a different city, she was now, in university with people my age. So that opened up a gate where we could relate to each other.
Oh,
But I still saw her as my mother. So she was now starting to see me as, I can relate to you. We can kind of be friends. So because I still had that mentality that you're my mom, I was not, I I admit I was not, trying
yeah.
to hang out with her that much. But then once I saw how she had evolved to kind of understand me, and that was when she was leaving. Yeah,
So,
and I miss her.
so do you have any plans to like visit her? And I guess the
Mhm.
rest of the family is in the UK now, right?
Yes, I actually was supposed to go and spend Christmas with them, but I hadn't gotten my work permit yet. So I then got it. And now if I try getting, starting the process of going to the UK, it will take time. So I won't be able to make it in time for Christmas. But definitely next year I'll be going.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, thank you for joining, Andy. You have any last words? Maybe a message to your future self?
I guess I can tell my future self that don't hold yourself back. You think too much. Just do it. Like Nike, just do it and trust in
Nice one.
God.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Thanks for joining, Andy.
Thank you for having me. Bye.